Hey guys, welcome back to Vintage Super League. I am joined by the champ himself, Steve Menendian. How's it
What's
going?
up, everyone?
How's it going, man?
Doing great. How are you?
The
I,
heater is real.
you're pretty happy with how
Trying to
things have gone.
contain the heat. Uh,
You are on the heater.
yeah.
So, what who are you facing the last 3 weeks?
What's that?
Did,
What was I
who
facing?
are you facing the last 3 weeks?
The last 3 weeks, I got some tough ones. All Pro Tour champions. We got LSV, Bob, and Tom. I haven't played Tom yet. I don't think. Have I played Tom? I think it's LSV, Bob, and Tom.
Do you think you can do it? Do you think there's a good chance you can go all the way XO?
No, I don't think so. LSV, I think, is going to have my number at the very least, and something tells me that Tom's going to turn it around a little bit. I can beat Bob, though. Bob's a chump. Bob's one of my good friends. Played Team GPs way back, and it's going to be three tough matches. But I mean, it's been six tough matches to go on right now. Like
Yeah.
almost all of my, I've only had one match that didn't go 3 games that wasn't tight. My match against Rich in a lot of ways wasn't close. In a lot of ways, it's extremely close. Like I won the roll, which is huge when you're playing shops against Delver, and my draws on the play were just ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
we really
And
didn't have
you
a chance to win.
and the big I don't you probably haven't seen it yet, but the big decision in that game was your decision to play Chalice for zero because his opening hand had Black Lotus.
That's the one thing my hand can lose to. Well, I mean, if I don't draw lands, I'm going to lose. But I feel like I have to play Chalice for zero there just because I have two spheres. Like
Right.
it's so hard for him to get out of that. And of course, if I don't draw lands, then I'm still just screwed. But he
Right.
needs to draw a lot of lands. He doesn't have a lot of lands. Like
But
Delver
the
decks don't
big
have
thing,
a lot of
the
lands.
thing that I thought could really blow it open for him is if he top decked a strip mine or had strip mine
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, the strip mine. I mean, the strip mine was insane, and the second workshop was insane. I mean, I really needed to draw a land that produced multiple mana sooner rather than later to put the game away before he had any chance to draw out of it. And I had turns to do that. It's not like I needed it right away, but you draw it on that turn. You just play the Lodestone Golem. He didn't have another Force of Will. It's just like, all right. I just typed in the chat. I'm like, ooh, Mama, like that Lodestone Golem could play. I'm like, all right, this one's all over. Like I
Yeah.
can't lose now.
He
So
used his force on your revoker and then you top decked Nature's Workshop.
yeah, it's exactly. I mean, and I would force the Revoker in that spot too. It was the threat that was coming into play, and
So
through the workshop.
so you're pretty happy with your I suppose with your deck choices for this semester and the last one. You,
Uh, they've both been good. I honestly I've really liked my deck every trimester we've had out of all five, and my playoff deck, other than the City Vault deck. I really didn't like that deck. I liked all the other ones. So,
I think there's a little bit of universal buyer's remorse with that archetype.
yeah, especially because it was right when like all the delve cards became legal, and that deck
Yeah.
was just so underpowered and so weak. Just like, what did I do? And ever since then, I've really liked my deck choices. I mean, vintage is just so fun. I don't get enough opportunities to play it. Being able to play the vintage festival, I love playing the Delver deck and that. And so, yeah, it's really just been a blast. There's been a lot of high quality matches, and just it's just great competition. There's no cakewalks, as I'm sure you are more than aware in this league. So every
Yeah.
match, everyone's bringing it, and I've played five really close matches, and Kai got pretty unlucky against me. He mulliganed a lot, and I
Congrat-
just for good.
yeah,
So
congratulations. I mean, that's a pretty impressive achievement. I think the tough thing for you is going to be figuring out what you want to play in the last set because,
yeah,
I think you're locked in, but the question is, can you keep the top seed? And B, do you want to play something that you might want to play in the playoffs but don't want to reveal yet? So you're gonna have some interesting choices.
yeah. I mean, I don't think I'm gonna ever worry about not revealing things, just because if it's fun and I enjoy it, I'm gonna play it. That's kind of my thing, but yeah, I mean, this next match we're about to cover is going to be a big one to determine that. If Luis wins, he's only one match behind me, and if he loses, I have two matches on the entire field. So it's an interesting spot, and Luis Luis and I push each other a lot in these tournaments. So it's really great having one of my closest friends in the world being right there, and of course he's playing against my other closest friend in the world. Best man in Dave's wedding, and He's of course lived with me for a while, obviously in his own place now, but we spend time together all the time, and he's been one of my closest friends for my adult life. So this
So
league is a lot of fun. Every match is kind of just sit back and watch, and whoever wins wins, and it's fantastic. You're just hoping for good games more often than not, and that's just a
right.
great place to be in for me. For I hope people at home, and things have worked out really well. I feel like.
So I hate to put you in this spot, but who do you predict is going to win this match?
Williams seems very convinced that Luis is going to win, and I think the matchup is good for Luis. So I give him the edge, but it's not a big one. If it is a one, uh, yeah, I played a little bit with some Delver decks against Luis while he was testing because that's what he wanted to play against, and it certainly wasn't unwinnable. And of course, I was playing Delver, not Mentor at the time. It wasn't a good matchup, but I certainly, it was certainly winnable. So yeah, the draws were going to be huge, and the play is going to be huge, and that's how Vintage tends to be. It's a
Yeah.
lot of small edges. The opening hands are big, and then you just can't make those mistakes because one little blip and just people just go off. Like that's just. Right. I'm gonna preview these guys. Let you handle this.
Here we go. Luis Scott-Vargas on OMNI Oath, which has been, I think, what is it, like X and 1 so far in this trimester, versus Dave Williams playing Mentor Control at 1 and 4, looking to get out of the bottom muddle here.
Yeah, Luis is 2-0, I believe, with his Omni deck. He lost to Randy, I think, in the first trimester with Doomsday against the Belcher deck. So I believe he's won both his matches so far. And now Kai's also 2-1 with the deck. So like you said, like 4-1 overall. So definitely a good showing for this. Definitely interesting take on Omni Oath. Is this a deck that's been around for kind of a while or not really?
Oh, I've seen show and tell Oath decks for a couple years, but not this configuration. And of
Sure.
course, he's got 4 digs in here, and
A new addition for sure.
yeah, and Bezeju has always been one of those cards lurking at the margins of the format, and this deck uses it quite effectively. So you've got to win before the Bezeju can take over. But what I like about Dave's deck is I feel like Mentor can frankly is quick enough to race, even a just recently show and tell Emrakul or even a Gristlebrand. We've seen that happen a couple times, at least once already, right?
Yeah, I believe Kai got out Gristlebrand, and I think he beat Dave with it, but there was a lot of draws that Dave
Oh,
had. Could have maybe changed that. I believe he won one game with Gristlebrand in play, and so yeah,
these
like some crazy things can happen.
these opening hands are amazing. This is going to be fascinating to see how this goes.
This is ridiculous.
They both have Ancestral Recall. They both have Force of Will. They both have uh, Brainstorm. So Dave is wow. He's just throwing it out there. He's not even playing Probe first. He's going to go double.
He's going to hold on to the Probe as his second forcible pitch card, or I guess his first one because he's going to hold the Brainstorm to begin with. But this is not going to work out for him at all.
This
He's
won't
going
work
to
out.
get punished hard.
Amazing. Wow.
This is going to have a full hand against Dave's Brainstorm. He's still going to have
Oh,
a forcible and Brainstorm behind.
yeah. Luis is going to just have land Ancestral Recall.
Yep.
And Dave is going to spend his entire hand. I don't know.
Dave's going to be on Scalding Tarn Volcanic, and Luis is going to be on 2 lands Ancestral. Well, we've seen Ancestrals brick pretty hard before, but you gotta love Luis's spot.
Oh, goodness.
Show and Tell doesn't do anything yet, but certainly a card that he wants in his hand. Oh, there's Omniscience.
There's Omniscience.
And Force of Will and a blue card, so he's basically... Yeah, I guess Omniscience also doesn't do anything yet. It allows him, to cast anything he draws in the future, but not actually a card yet.
That's one of those hands that you could puzzle. Dave's opening hand is one you could puzzle over for a while. It's the right line there.
Yeah, I feel like if this match was you versus Luis, the first turns would have played out very differently. You guys are a lot more conservative. Dave just fired it out there, no fear. And Dave is an aggressive player in poker and in Magic. So
and Luis is top decked Oath of Druid, so Dave is basically
with forcible backup too if he needed it. But of course, Dave was only on one card, so
Dave has drawn the Mentor. So unfortunately, he's not going to. I don't think we're going to see an opportunity for him to pull out of this. But if he were to top deck, if Luis's life was low enough and he were to top deck a Gush, he might be able to do something here. But Luis isn't even going to let that happen. He's just like, get out of here, swat it down with Force of Will. The token is enough to trigger this oath, and off we go.
Yeah, knowing the deck list makes the Force of Will castable card. If you have no idea what Dave's up to, you might want to sit there or try to protect whatever you're going to get out. Let's say it's Emrakul, if there's something you're afraid of in Dave's list. But knowing that there's no answer to Emrakul, it comes out, Dave concedes on the spot. If he hit Gristlebrand, he would get to draw 7, which means he would get to find a mana source, show and tell out Omniscience, and play whatever you drew, which either way, this game was going to be over once that oath was drawn and resolved. So the first turn really dictated how that game played out.
Yeah. It was in large part the game. I mean, it was unusual. I mean, Luis had, how many, let's see how many, he only had 3 missteps. And he drew 2 of the 3 and had a force, and that's all it took. And they both had Brainstorm and Ancestral. Of course, neither one of them got an opportunity to cast Brainstorm. So,
yeah, they both had a blue card.
Luis has this interesting question as to exactly how he wants a sideboard here. Him and Kai have both demonstrated different sideboard plans in this particular matchup.
Well, their sideboard plan going into VSL, let's say your deck is completely unknown, is that the oaths are coming out. They're not playing the oath plan. They know everyone's bringing in cages. That's common. But now everyone knows that the oaths might be coming out. And so at that point, you kind of have to hedge a little bit here and there just because you can't. If people know what you're doing, you got to change what you're doing. So we saw Kai have the oaths. Luis, knows that Dave knows that Luis knows that, this is his plan. So what he does, yeah, it's definitely up in the air.
And if he decides to continue with the oath route, he can of course bring in Abrupt Decays, which it appears he has done. So I suspect he may have kept in the oaths. The other trick on David's side is whether you keep in plows, and if so, how many. I sideboarded out my plows, and despite having quasi control over the game, lost to Elish Norn.
Yep.
So I suspect Dave has kept in probably just 1 plow, which he's drawn.
Right.
Dave's hand is a little bit awkward here because he only has 1 land and he has Gush. He has another Mana Source with Black Lotus, but if he's not able to get some card celerity, he's not going to be able to cast these digs. The Lotus goes a long way there, but it's not enough. And then on the other side of the board, Luis has a also equally awkward hand with the 1 land, and basically, spells that he can't cast immediately either, except for the Preordains, which can help find additional lands, but, they're going to generate creatures at the same time and give Dave a little bit of pressure.
Yeah, I feel like Dave's hand is not a keep when Luis's hand is he has to keep. Dave's hand's just so clunky. He has no early spells to cast to fuel these digs, and so it's pretty rough. And Luis's hand, I mean, on top of having the 2 Preordains, he's got a land that taps for any color, which, generates a disadvantage, but it's going to take a while before that matters. He probably has a card like Toxic Delusion in his deck, so if he does take a while, he could end up tutoring up stuff like that. And of course, just having the tutor means that he can do the things he wants to do. Like he has some good selection with the Preordains and can find, let's say, the Seiju, a Show and Tell, something to that combination to get an Emrakul out.
It looks like Dave has mulligan this hand, but we haven't seen his. There we go. So he's mulligan to 6, and kept a hand with lands and cage.
Interesting. Well, the cage is not going to be good this game because even if oaths are in the deck, we've got lots and lots of Abrupt Decays. Abrupt Decays to spare. So his hand is definitely. It's going to struggle against Luis's hand.
Yeah, you may have been right about mulliganing that hand, but I think that hand may have actually turned out to be better against Luis. Yeah. Because the misstep would have stopped this first Preordain.
True.
And now he's just drawing. There were a lot of things Dave could have drawn to get himself active with the previous hand. So Luis can Preordain here, he can Demonic Tutor, or he can hold up the Abrupt Decay. What would you do?
I think I'd lead on Preordain. As I tend to do in basically all spots.
Demonic Tutor for next turn, Show and Tell or Oath is not. I guess he can't cast Show, but those aren't the worst either.
So do we know what he actually did with the Preordain? It's always interesting when they draw an Elish Norn. You assume
He
they
must
will
have
on the
bought it.
bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's certainly the assumption, but Luis loves Elish Norn, so you never know. Seen him make some interesting plays. Right off screen, but it looked foil, so I assumed it was power. Right. Another mana source, never bad. So Luis is still looking for. I'm not sure exactly what card he wants to get right here. I assume it's Show and Tell with Misdirection already in hand.
So it's interesting that he's drawn the Elish Norn. Does that mean that he doesn't have the oaths?
Well, you could certainly oath up an Elish Norn.
That's true.
It's a powerful card. I do believe that there's a good chance there are no oaths in this deck, though. Yes. I think he's already seen that Kai left in oaths and Dave brought in Grafdigger's Cage against him, and so I think the expectation is that Dave's going to continue to do that, and Luis is going to shave his oaths. But, there could be one in there. Like, leaving one oath in there to hedge, especially with Demonic Tutors in your deck.
Interesting. Dave is going to shatter that Mox. He doesn't want to give Luis an opportunity to cast Show and Tell right there. And that gets another card in the graveyard.
He kind of has the oath plan already on lockdown with Grafdigger's Cage, so no real reason to hold a Wear Tear. It only has those targets. There's no reason to even think necessarily that Luis has oaths in his deck, and if he does, you've got something in play. Plus, you just want a card in your graveyard.
Right.
It allows him to cast Dig next turn.
So, I was also in a position where had I shattered Black Lotus, I would have been able to prevent Luis from hard casting a big creature.
Sure.
Luis is just continuing to accumulate a pretty strong grip over here, so things are going to turn pretty quickly. It looks like, unfortunately, for Dave,
it's going to be rough. Oh, Dave's got a lot of cards this turn.
Dave has found Gush, so hopefully he can gush into something really useful here.
Yeah, Luis has some protection for Show and Tell, but nothing to actually fight a counter war over card draw. Dave thins his deck to start. Certainly doesn't want to draw any more lands.
Luis is 100% going to Show and Tell in Emrakul? Can we assume that? I guess it's main dependent on what Dave does.
Ends up gushing into Mentor, into Dig Through Time type thing.
Yeah.
That no.
Okay.
He might not, because Dave is at a high enough life total that one hit from Emrakul won't win it, and so a bunch of monks might kill him. But anything else, well, if Mentor doesn't come down, then for sure. And if it does, it's an interesting spot. I mean, Luis also has multiple Abrupt Decays in his hand, so he can kill any creature that comes down. He can also draw a card like Black Lotus to allow him to cast multiple things, which would be pretty great for him.
Looks like one of the cards that, okay, so we now see what Dave drew off of Gush. It was a fetch land and a Pyroblast.
Which is a pretty big brick. Pyroblast not doing anything right now and can't stop a Show and Tell because of the Sages, so yeah, not the best Gush. But he gets to see 7 cards. There aren't a lot of good things, although he's not playing a card like Strip Mine, right? Being able to kill the Sage would be pretty huge. So we see Gush, Misstep,
I don't see any Mentors.
Probe, Lotus, Wear Tear, Mox, and Misdirection. So yeah, he can Gush again. There's not a lot in there, though. Yeah, there's nothing in there that can deal with any big creature or present a threat or stop a land.
We see Dave took Misdirection and Misstep.
Sure.
Ah, looks like he's going for Elish Norn.
Interesting. No, no. Okay.
Okay.
There's the father.
Well, Dave is in a really tough spot. He might have had an out if he was able to keep something. If he assumed that maybe Luis is going to put into play something else and gush into a mentor and maybe a dig into a time walk or something like that. But here in this position, he has really no outs.
Yeah,
He,
I mean, if
he,
he threw Mentor off any of those card draw spells, we could have had a game. Whether he would
yes.
have won or not, or whether he could have even made it competitive or not, I'm not 100%. But we could have had a game. Um, so Dave is just milling cards to try to cast another dig. Not sure what he wants to hit. Is there answers to Emrakul?
There isn't. You
He
could have
can't
a
actually pay the life for Pro because it would make Emrakul lethal. So, hard casting that. Emrakul is not an easy card to deal with. Not
no. It's
much
going to munch up a bunch of permanents, and although he can throw some of these tokens into it, he's not going to be left with much. Well, that's a pretty good draw, but I don't think he's going to be able to generate enough.
Yeah, I mean, he just gets annihilated and abrupt decayed. That's what I think happens. He can't actually cast a spell. Like, he can't even make a single token off this mentor. So,
If Luis tries to abrupt decay the mentor, though, his misdirection will create another token.
true. Cool.
That's brutal. This is Emerald doing its thing.
Interesting to keep the cage. Not sure about that. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing that Dave can cast. There's no reason for Luis to cast a spell because the mentor's not doing anything. So he's gonna like Dave's gonna have to try to cast 13 spells and then he
You
just
have to
runs
go
out.
lethal here. And we know that the Black Lotus is at the bottom of the deck, unless he shuffled after that.
Well, yeah, I mean, Luis is just gonna cast the abrupt decay in response because there's nothing Dave can do. Although I guess he could somehow make some guy. There's no reason to let top resolve because Dave's out is like hitting gush into spell into time lock Lotus, like crazy combination of stuff along those lines to have a couple monks out there and then go off with prowess.
So Dave kept the
Tough
cage in
that's
play as a misdirection target for a potential abrupt decay. It seems. At least
right, but
that's
I mean, Luis has misdirection of his own, so you can just send it right on back to the mentor.
apparently what he's doing. Yep, and that's it. Wow.
So
I,
Luis
I say
Scott-Vargas moves to 5-1. Dave will drop to 1-5. So Tom has a chance now playing against you to try to even that score up. Try to, form a tie in the cellar, so to speak. Yeah, Luis just continues to do what he does, winning everything that isn't Pro Tours.
All right, here we go.
All right, so let's get a quick grasp of what you expect to happen in this match before we let you go and watch the final match of the night. You like your chances?
I do. I think so. It's not going to be easy, but
No,
I,
they're never easy.
yeah, no, every one of these matches is a battle. It'll be interesting to see exactly what Tom's sideboard plan is going to be. Just I don't
He's
know if
got
I
an
should.
interesting deck. He's got, going for the gifts route. So yeah, definitely look forward to one more sweet match of Vintage Super League. Tom Martell versus Steve Menendian.
We're flying tonight. We're flying.
We're gonna get Dave Williams back into the booth, I believe, join with Randy, and yeah, stay tuned. We'll be right back.